Hey Harmonizers, welcome to the ranch class at the Thoroughbred Transformation Expo in Florida. So this is Lissy starting off in the ranch class with our trail pattern. So this was the obstacle pattern starting off with a rope gait. And the trail pattern specified what speed we had to go between the different obstacles and where we had to go. And then I added in a little bit of polish here as we did a bit of a haunch turn into our next obstacle rather than just kind of doing a loose turn. But doing our trot pulls there into our right lead canter, from our right lead canter into a halt to do our roping. And Lissy, for her, these are all pretty easy obstacles. She practices on stuff that's a lot harder, and we're riding bitless in our little rope side pull attachment. And she's doing really, really well. Look how calmly she's standing while I get my rope out, I swing, I do a miss, but the more important thing is to show how calmly she stands, and I kind of get the rope on the cow a little bit. And then we go into our trot and we're supposed to transition to walk at the bridge here. And really through all this pattern, Lissy really couldn't have done any better. She listened very, very well. She got the correct lead canters. She did her transitions where she needed to transition. Here we're doing our trot. And everything that she was asked to do, she did very nicely. We transitioned down, do our side pass over the pole, and after the pole we were supposed to halt and do our stop for at least 3 seconds. So here's our pause, and she's standing very, very nicely. Then we do our little back up, very, very precise 5 steps. Couldn't have done it any better, and we ended up placing first in that class. So then I'm thinking, okay, great, the pattern's going to go really well. So the next class we come into is our pattern. And so there's no obstacles, it's just our pattern. And so after she had done her trail class portion, she didn't get back to her stall. There wasn't enough time to go back to her stall, but we brought her out, or kind of like I got off of her. She got to have a drink of water, and then I got back on to do my pattern because I just pulled the obstacles out of the ring. So we start off, and Elon's there at the side of the ring. That's him at the corner there. And he had been over the entire time. He was there for the trail pattern as well. We do our little serpentine, trot serpentine. And I'm like, okay, everything's going pretty good. And just wait for it. We're going to go into our canter. And she's a little bit, a little bit grumbly, does her little, I'm so angry, why do we have to do this? And I'm like, please continue at the canter. And she goes on, and I can feel her kind of humping her back a little bit. She's not doing a really good canter here. I can feel her humping her back and just being generally a little bit angry that she had to go back into the ring and do more work. And then here she tosses her head at me. She's like, I don't want to do flying lead changes right now. So I'm like, you know what? We're not even going to attempt a flying lead change. Let's just do a walking simple change, which she does do and gets her right lead pretty nicely, and continue on. After our right lead canter, then we go into an extended right lead canter. And we had practiced this pattern. I showed you guys the video of our kind of overall summary of the expo. And she had practiced this pattern and done it absolutely perfectly the day before. She just had a little bit of attitude that she had to come back into the ring to perform when she had just done the trail class pattern so perfectly. Does her extended trot really, really nicely. And then she's kind of settled into the ring and things feel pretty good again into our regular trot over the poles, come down to a halt, and then we got to choose which way we did our 360 first. So I'm do my 360 left because that's her less good way. And she does one of the worst haunch turns. She can do a much better one, but she's just being a little bit stiff in her body because she's a little bit angry still that we need to be in there. Kind of steps on her own foot there. Our walk forward, and then we do a halt and a back up from there. So not her best pattern. She had to have that little bit of moment of sass. We haven't really seen the dragon come through in competition lately. So that was a moment that came through. Not super happy with her for doing that, but what you're going to do, it happens. She finished off really nicely. So then in the finale, this is now the finale, so it's a different day. We had, it was our first class of the day. We had been in the ring doing some warm-up, and I had warmed her up, and she was riding absolutely perfectly. I was so happy with her. I didn't really get her to do much of anything. We did like a 30-minute warm-up, let her have lots of walk breaks. So I thought, okay, this is going to go pretty nicely. Elon had stayed at the stall the entire time, so he wasn't around. And we come into the ring, and she's pooping. Sorry, we're out of frame of the video there. So she's pooping. We do our little haunch pivot turn, and there was a horse that looked like one of her friends that had gone by and had called to her. So here we go off in our left canter lead, and we're supposed to do, we could choose a flying lead change or a simple lead change. So I already knew I was going to do a simple lead change because she was acting kind of goofy about it. And I just wanted to have a clean change in the center of the ring. And then she goes to almost get the wrong lead. I pick up the correct lead there. And I'm just riding the canter, hoping that everything's going to be nice and smooth. Which, you know, wait for it. She's going to have another dragon moment here in a minute. And she's doing pretty good. And I'm thinking, okay, we're going to hold it together. We have to do a little extended lope here. And as we come around the corner, she decides, my buddy's over there. I have to tell you, I'm upset about that. And I'm like, really, Elysia? Did we need to do that? So I just kind of walk and settle until we can pick up that right canter lead again. Head off in our right canter lead, and we finish up the pattern pretty good. It's like literally so close to the end. She just had to throw a fit as we went around the corner where her buddy was, down into trot. And then we're going to trot over our poles and head out, or do our walk over our poles. And then we do a stop and a halt and a back out. So I was a bit disappointed that she couldn't hold her emotions together for that she had to be upset about that. But we did the best we could. And she's a sensitive little girl. So what am I going to say? She's got to have some practice of getting over being some herd boundness. So we'll be practicing on being away from her buddy and having more stamina in the show ring. Apparently she would prefer to compete with obstacles than just a flat pattern. But she ended up placing 3rd overall.